Hello Tull fans, back with another sort of demonstration tutorial. The song today by Jethro Tull is The Whistler. Admittedly kind of a polarizing tune for a lot of people. It's from the Songs from the Wood album. Got quite a bit of radio airplay back in the day, which is kind of unusual for Tull songs in general. So I think some people think it's too poppy, it's a pop song, but it's a great pop song in my opinion. It's challenging to play, and it has some very clever modulations in it, which I will demonstrate. It's a pretty difficult song to do a solo arrangement of because they did some trickery with the capo, and he moved the capo around within the song. So that makes it pretty challenging to play solo. But I'm going to show you how he did all that and demonstrate different parts of the tune. So the first thing let's listen to the intro that I've recreated. So I've recorded all these instruments and I've recorded it at a slower tempo so that you can hear things better. So let's hear what the intro sounds like. Alright, so that's my recreation of the intro. Now let's look at it one track at a time. So we have the octave mandolin just holding a simple chord. So it's just doing that through the whole intro. So now let's listen to the acoustic guitar, which is tuned in standard tuning with a capo on the 4th fret for the verses. And I'm going to explain for the intro and the verses. So that's simply just a E minor shaped chord and an A sus2 shaped chord here. Alright, so that's all that's doing. Now let's listen to another one of the acoustic guitars, which is doing the main riff, what I would call the main riff here. Alright, so we have that going on. So that is just starting on the low E string, play the A string there, come down and play the E string here, and then the A string is open, then we come down to the E string. Alright, so that's another acoustic guitar doing the main riff, and then of course the bass guitar is in there. And we have the orchestral bells, the glockenspiel in there, and we also have some synth from David Palmer in there. I won't go over those parts, but there's another guitar part at the end of the intro. So here it is. So that's the intro. Okay, now let's look at what makes this such a challenging song. Is when it starts into, this is number one, it's in 6/4 time, so 1 2 3 4 5 6, 1 2 3 4 5 6. So that's the counting, that's the time signature in the verses, but it will change in the chorus to 4/4. All right, so when he starts. Well, first off, I'll just show you if I was playing this solo, how I would play this whole intro. The problem is you make some sacrifices either way, and I'll explain that in a bit here when we get to the chorus. There are compromises in where you put the capo, whether you put it on the 4th fret or the 3rd fret, which is where he played the choruses on the 3rd fret. He played the verses on the 4th fret. So that's the trickery that I mentioned before. So here's how I would play the intro solo. I would start on the E minor chord. And then I would go to the A sus2 shape chord there. And come back to the E minor. So that's how I would play the intro. Once again, he was capoed here on the 4th fret for the verses, and he moved the capo down to the 3rd fret for the choruses. All right, so the chords that he plays during the verses are, I can't sing that high, so I'm just going to sing low and it'll sound terrible. I'll buy you 6 bay mares. All right, so he goes to a D sus2 shape chord. So he's playing the E string open on the D chord. And then he puts his finger down to complete the D chord. I'll buy you 6 bay mares to put in your stable. And then he does, as he so often does, he suspends the D chord stable he suspends the D chord to mimic what his vocal is doing. Apples born. And so he does the same thing on the second part of the verse. He goes back to the D sus2. And then he strums like that. So it sounds like. And then when he comes back the second time, instead of playing the A sus2 shape, he plays the A shape chord to go to the chorus. All right, so that's how he does the verses. All right, so that's the verses. Now, the way that I have to think of this myself is in triplets. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. So that's how I have to think of it, is 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, now here's where the compromise comes in, because once you get to the chorus, then he stays on this minor chord. And then he's back for the second verse. Now you might be telling me, snooze, that doesn't sound like what he's doing on the record, and you would be correct in that. That's where I'm talking about once again, what makes this difficult is that he moved the capo down. All right, so that's how you would have to play it, capoed on the 4th fret. At least that's how I would play it. And then we're coming all the way up here to the 12th fret. And when he gets to the second part of that tin whistle part, then he's back into the verse again. Now, that is a totally bizarre change, going from here. If I did anything like that writing a song, it would sound totally bizarre, but for some reason when he does it, it doesn't trigger our ear. It just sounds interesting. It doesn't sound bizarre, to me at least. Okay, here is where he's done his little studio trick. Now this is my 12 string. He's playing a 12 string on this, and I have my guitar tuned down a whole step. So I've got the capo on the 5th fret to mimic having it on the 3rd fret. So that's a little maybe confusing visually, but that's what I've got going on here. All right, so once again, the verses are in this minor chord because we had the capo moved up one more fret so we could just play an E minor shape. And now we have to play an F minor shape. And then go to this sus2 chord here. All right, so that's what we have to do with the capo on the 3rd fret. So it's definitely a little bit more challenging, but the real challenging part is when it gets to singing the verses, because it's you didn't famous, put in your stable. See, he's got the D-shaped chord in when you have the capo on 1 fret up, but here we can't do that. I guess we could, but it's going to sound a little bizarre. Because if you do that, you have to stay on the top 3 strings. I guess you could play it like that. If you've seen Stuart Wood cover this, if you haven't seen Stuart's channel, please go check that out. He does some terrific arrangement. And he's totally a Tull fanatic. But when I watched him play this, his solo arrangement, he plays it here in this F minor shape. So when he goes to the next chord, he frets it like this. So that's how he frets the verses. So the advantage of having the capo on the 3rd fret, and once again when you listen to the recording carefully, when it gets to the chorus, you can hear a whole different guitar come in for the choruses. So now we can play the standard shapes for the chorus. And then he's back to this F minor shape for the verses. All right, so that's the dilemma. Where do you put the capo for this song? The choruses are much easier with it on the 3rd fret. The verses are much easier on the 4th fret because that's how he recorded the song. All right, now if you've seen the video of the promotional video of him playing this, he does have the capo on the 3rd fret and he's playing an F minor shape chord. But he doesn't even change it. He's just mimicking. He's not even playing along with the song, because once they start the verses, they cut away from him totally playing the guitar, so you never see him playing the guitar during the verses. And that's because he couldn't play it in that position like he does. And I'm sure he didn't want to show that he had actually moved the capo around in the song. And there's really a funny bit. it's so in the background, and this is a little blurry, but he actually messes up the chords here, and I'm surprised they didn't re-record this section, but here he is messing up the chord, and you can almost see the look on his face like, oh my gosh, but you can see his fingers searching for the chord. Here it is.
Get ready for the whistler. I whistle along on the seventh day. Whistle along.
All right, I think that's pretty hilarious. Now, on the strumming pattern for this, it's a very difficult strumming pattern for me at the tempo that it's going, because the strumming pattern is downstrokes on all the chord changes through that whole chorus section. Not during the 10 whistle section, I don't think, but during the chorus, he's strumming like... he actually pulls his finger off the E string on the D chord. So for me at least, that's a difficult strumming pattern at tempo. And that, I'm playing it actually a little bit slower than the actual tempo there. So it's much easier to strum if you just keep your hand going up and down. But if you listen once again to the recording, it's... All right, so that's the strumming pattern. All right, so I hope that enlightens you a little bit of the song. I won't even go into that funky syncopated rhythm, you know, in the 10 whistle part. So there's a little hiccup there, so you know, I wouldn't worry about that too much. That's I think actually he overdubbed the guitar doing that. I think there's a guitar just playing it straight underneath, and then I think he added that over as an overdub just to be a little clever there. All right, so that's the Whistler, and until next time, we'll talk to you later. Bye.